Welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your monthly astrology forecast for December of 2025. And I'm really excited to share the astrology of this month with you. My name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a depth psychotherapist and an astrologer, and so happy that you're here. It's such an honor to share this space with you. So, we have a lot of energy happening this month. As always, there's always a lot of astrology here. And so, one of the core themes that's happening is we are fully in Sagittarius season. We're also going to move into Capricorn season, but before we get there, there's a lot that's happening. So happy birthday to my Sagittarius people, my Capricorn people. This is your month, and there's a lot of energy here for all of us in relation to these themes of Sagittarius and Capricorn. And this is because the planets of Sun, Venus and Mars are all in Sagittarius towards the first part of this month. I know the sun is not a planet, but for our purposes in astrology, we treat it as a planetary body, a planetary archetype, something that we track in the sky that has meaning for us. And so a big part of this month is that there is a spotlight, a focus, a conscious focus on sun themes in the Sagittarian area and the Sagittarian way of doing things. So Sagittarius is about exploring, adventuring, philosophizing. It's about expanding our awareness and moving towards growth in ways that are adventurous, either internally or externally. So there is a hunger, a desire to know, a desire to explore. And when we have the sun here, this is the conscious focus. We also have Venus and Mars here. And this is Venus, our heart, our enthusiasm for connection, our enthusiasm for beauty and harmony and connecting with other people. And Mars, our vibrancy, our physicality, our advocacy, our boundaries, and our ability to be direct and to also draw a line in the sand, to be very clear about what is okay and what is not okay. This is all Mars. So there's a lot of energy here. And what I really want to share with you is that this month, these planets in Sagittarius, Sun, Venus, and Mars, are making a square to Saturn and Neptune. So this is happening all month. And we've been approaching this. It's going to be exact this month. So when we have a square, by nature, its energy is dynamic. There's a feeling of tension that often goes along with squares, and there's often a feeling of needing to figure something out. There is a call to action, a call to decide, a call to figure out. And sometimes it's an external call, sometimes it's an internal call. Now, this tension has a lot of different factors because there's many planets that are involved here. And because the sun is involved, it's very primary, it's very focal, it's very important. And so there may be something that you've already been feeling is building that is important around your sense of self, your identity, your ego, as it relates to what is practical, where the boundaries are, as well as where the illusions are. Um, we've we've already been feeling this whole year, this moving towards closer and closer to this energy of Saturn conjunct Neptune. It'll be exact in February, but we're already there. We're already um, in the river of this initiatory transit. And the sun coming in to make this square to Saturn Neptune this month, again, all month, is that there is something here that is wanting to emerge from your psyche around your ego, your identity, your self concept. This may involve themes of self-acceptance, of self-confidence, of self-esteem. This is very possible when we have the Sun in aspect to Saturn as well as Neptune. And so I want you to be watching for what it is that seems to be arising that wants to be. Uh, I'm almost getting this image of something wanting to be pulled forward from within you. And that might be, yeah, I'm kind of like feeling into it now. It, because we're dealing with Sun Neptune, there's a possibility for it being something unconscious that wants to come into consciousness. It might already be something that you're working on that's coming more fully into consciousness. And it's possible it might be something that is valuable, or gosh, do I even want to use that word? It might be something that is a part of you that wants to be integrated and accepted to feel more of a sense of wholeness and acceptance about yourself. It, in contrast, might be something that is a belief or a self concept that is an illusion, that is not actually accurate. And so there's some sort of revising or reprogramming here around your sense of self that is happening this month. Now, we also have Venus and Mars making this same aspect, a square to Saturn and Neptune. And so this brings in the potential um, for connecting with relationships that are transformative, with encountering the boundaries and realities and non-negotiables of relationship. When we have Venus making a square to Saturn and Neptune, this can be a sorting through what is real, what is true, and what is illusionary or idealistic. So, Venus to Saturn is about saying, this is what works, this is what doesn't work, this is where the boundary is, this is what I need. This is, I think, part of this month could also involve some restructuring of relational phenomena. So, this might be literal relationships that you have in your life where things are being worked out, whether those are uh, platonic, romantic, business, etc. It may be more of an inside contemplation around how you show up in relationship. And so there is the practical sorting piece here, and then there's also the Venus Neptune piece here, which Venus Neptune is about states of oneness, states of merging with yourself, with the divine, with other people, with a piece of art, with nature. And when we have it in a square like this, there can sometimes be feelings of feeling like there that desire to merge, to become one, to connect, to feel connected to something greater is not happening in a way that you want or need. And so there is a bit of working through and finding, um, I think Venus Neptune can sometimes point to a process where we encounter illusions or delusions so that we can find what is actually really true or solid for us. And so there's themes here around that are happening. Now, the Mars piece is interesting too, because Mars here tells me that there's also something that's being worked out around your capacity for boundaries, for saying no, for standing up for yourself or for others. There's something here around our psychological immune system. And I'm not quite sure what that is for you. And it does make me wonder how you feel in your life now about what it is that you're committed to. Do you feel that you are overcommitted or undercommitted? Are there things that are happening that um, you've started to realize maybe don't quite sit with you well, that maybe they did, but now they no longer do? And I think also Mars being so connected to our physicality and our physical capacity, there might also be something here that is being worked out for you around what your actual physical limitations are. And uh, yeah, like what you think your capacity should be and what it actually is, what you want it to be, and what it actually is. I think this feels really important when we have Mars making a square to Saturn and making a square to Neptune, because Saturn is the limitation, the very real, non-negotiable, and then Neptune is the ideal, the vision, the capacity. And when we have Mars in a square to these planets, I think a part of what wants to come forward from you is a more realistic and sustainable and heart-based way of acting and moving in the world. And so a part of this might be softly surrendering to what is happening, but also holding space for other ways to take action. And this may mean taking action that is more emotional, spiritual, metaphysical, whatever your relationship is with the metaphysical. It may mean dropping some things that feel too heavy and picking some things up that actually feel more in alignment with what is resonating for you now. I'll also say, because these planets, Sun, Venus, and Mars, are shifting throughout the month from Sagittarius into Capricorn, there's also this feeling of deepening and enriching. When we have Sagittarius, it is this exploratory energy. It's very exciting, and there's a desire to know more. When we get into Capricorn territory, there's this shift of sort of locking in and saying, okay, I know the things that I need to know, and now I want to create something, I want to do something. There's more of an ability to take all of that energy and all of that wisdom and put it into something that is deeply meaningful. That, I don't know, for you, it might be practical, it might be tangible, it might be more subtle or energetic, whatever it is. There's certainly this shift in tone from the beginning of the month where we're in Sag to the latter part of the month where we're in Capricorn. And so this leads to the next part of the astrology this month, is that on December 21st, the sun will move from Sagittarius into Capricorn. And so this is a change in the signs, a change in the solar seasons, and also it marks our solstice. So the solstice in December is both the first day of winter in the northern hemisphere and the first day of summer in the southern hemisphere. And it's this maximum point of day and night, depending upon which part of the world we're in, the upper or the lower part. But it's this maximum of moving toward, how do I want to say this? It, it's emphasizing the polarity, emphasizing um, the swing in patterns, how there can be this swing from one extreme to another. And once we reach that extreme, there's usually a swinging back into the other extreme. And so that's very present this month, this holding space for maximum capacity. And so it makes sense to pause during this month, to notice how far you've come, notice all of the things that have happened in your life, notice what your experience is. I think it can be a great time to reflect annually on last year, how things were in your life, what you were feeling, what you were doing, what was on your heart and mind, and where you're at now. And this is a moment of pause. The solstice, that word literally means that the sun stands still. And so, energetically, in the astrology, this is a moment of pause. And this is such a beautiful time for that, with the Sun, Venus, and Mars making this square to Saturn Neptune. Because Saturn Neptune can be a heavy, dense energy sometimes, I think. It doesn't have to be. And what I've been noticing in my own life, in my practice as a therapist and an astrologer, is that um, collectively we're experiencing layers of grief that I think we can connect to Saturn and Neptune. Grief around sort of like the feelings that might be more tangible, immediate grief, but also uh, grieving the loss of potential. And this is Neptune being the unlimited potential. When Saturn comes in here, there is a realization that we have just this finite life, that we have just this finite day, this finite month to exist. And that is beautiful because there's so much potential there. And also, there is a very real limitation, and there is a loss in that. And so I share that with you because I find that when we can be honest with the things that we actually feel, when we can allow that grief or sadness or feelings of loss or feelings of frustration, whatever they are, when we can allow those to come in and to say, yes, this is how I feel right now. And it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to even be, sometimes I think these feelings are hard to put words to. It can be a nonverbal feeling. It can be a felt sense that's indescribable. The more that we can, in this portal of Saturn Neptune, the more that we can be open to experience the feelings and to say, yes, this is how I feel, and I don't know how I'm going to feel tomorrow, but this is how I feel right now. That actually creates a clearing. It allows that feeling to flow, and it creates space for other feelings to come in as well. For the full kaleidoscope and spectrum of things. And so I think this is also a possibility this month as well, since we have this multiple lineup. There might be um, multiple themes. There might, let's see, how do I want to say this? Okay, yes. There may be multiple iterations of a similar theme that you are working through this month. Some may be more solar based, more around ego, identity, sense of self. Sun is also connected to our paternal line and paternal figures, either literally or archetypally, our archetypal concept of paternal type people in our life. So there might be something there that is being processed, that is being integrated, that is being owned inside of yourself, or that is being grieved. There might be something here that is in a similar theme, but more of a Venusian tone, that is about your heart and relationships and connection and uh, the feeling of beauty and peace and ease that comes. And then there may be another theme here around Mars, which is about your boundaries, your assertiveness, your anger, your no. Mars is also a symbol of um, our fight, flight, freeze response. We could even add the fawn response to this as well. And so that may come up here as well to be experienced and worked through. There might be something here around that. Um, yeah, so I want to offer that Saturn Neptune to me feels very wide and all-encompassing. I think that there are so many different potentials for the way that this could be experienced through you. And yeah, I'm feeling a call to really encourage you to allow space to experience whatever it is that wants to come forward from you that this month, because my sense about this transit is that it is a clearing, and also, gosh, I'm just thinking about how um, Saturn is so connected to contraction and the contractions that happen in the process of giving birth, and that that is a natural part of the birthing process. And so, uh, I there's sort of this um, preparation for rebirth process that I think is a part of the Saturn Neptune conjunction. Okay, so I'm curious how that sits with you, what comes up for you, what you've been experiencing around this, and uh, yeah, the thoughts or feelings that come to mind as I'm describing this. Now, another part of what's happening this month also involves Mercury. So, Mercury is in Scorpio and Sagittarius this month in December. And Mercury is making an opposition to Uranus this month. It's going to get exact this month. Let's see, is that true? Yes. It's going to be exact this month, and we're really going to be feeling it towards the beginning to middle of December is when it's really hot. And this has a few significators. So, Mercury is our mind, our thought process, how we think, what we think about, how we communicate, how we analyze and make sense of things. Mercury is also connected to our divination, our divinatory process, or our communication with the unseen world, if there's a practice around that. And frankly, I think we all have a practice around that. For some of us, it's just maybe a bit more um, intentional or maybe more practical. So I'm saying this because anytime you have a dream or read astrology or contemplate an astrological symbol, you pull an oracle card or you work with tarot, anything like that, that is a symbolic language, we are working with Mercury because Mercury is the planet of symbols and symbolic language, language in general, and this transfer of messages. So we in December are integrating the Mercury retrograde that happened last month in November. And so Mercury's opposition to Uranus this month is a part of that integration process because Mercury's already been opposite Uranus. It's going to, in its forward, apparent forward motion this month, it's going to basically redo the Uranus opposition again. And so this is not new energy. There's a certain familiarity where you've already been through this in the last month or so. And also, that was in a contemplation mode of Mercury. When we have Mercury retrograde, it is this time of inner reflection, psychological introversion, reflecting, and I'm realizing more and more that Mercury retrograde is an opportunity to psychologically integrate the things that we've experienced, whether that is over the previous period of the last few months, or sometimes over like there might be something that happened years ago that for whatever reason is ready to be integrated now. And the Mercury retrogrades are a potent and fertile time for doing that integration. And so, so in November, for you, probably there was some contemplating on the past or contemplation in general. Um, Now, when we're in December, Mercury is appearing to move forward over the path where it was retrograding over. So it's making this additional pass over this area of the chart, this area of the zodiac. And so I think of this as a post integration period, integrating the integration period, if that makes sense. And so I encourage you to notice where it feels like the dots are connecting and things are coming together in December, especially just around anything that came up that you were thinking about, that you were analyzing in November. This month in December, it feels to me as though you're further getting cohesion on these things. And also, it's still Mercury opposite Uranus. So there's this element of spontaneous awakening, spontaneous revelations, a desire to free your mind from oppressive thinking, oppressive beliefs, oppressive ways of being. And what's coming to my mind right now is this may look like um, bringing into your awareness ways that maybe you've internalized some external messages that are maybe just not true for you. Maybe they were, maybe they never were, but there's something that is being released and allowing you to have a more spontaneous, creative, and open mindset, a more flexible mindset. This is Mercury Uranus. Now, Mercury, as it continues into Sagittarius, is also going to make this square to Saturn and Neptune. Just like we've talked about how the Sun, Venus, and Mars are doing that, Mercury is going to join that party towards the latter part of December. And so this again, this is one more iteration, one more layer of this theme of processing whatever it is that's coming up for you around Saturn and Neptune, around this, uh, the practical, realistic containment boundaries of life, along with the inspiration and the vision and the hope, um, or possible illusions. And so Mercury square Saturn and Neptune is coming into a greater sense of reality and practicality around your thinking, around your communication. This is the Saturn piece. The Neptune piece is maybe there's something here that is being revealed that was previously construed. Maybe there's some sort of ideal, like idealized thinking or idealized vision, and now that can come into greater focus And there may also be something here around setting down or releasing thought patterns that are maybe have been idealistic, maybe thoughts that have been fear-based, maybe thoughts that have been unkind in some ways. I think Mercury square Saturn Neptune can also show that, where there is an awareness of maybe the ways that you have unconsciously had these thought patterns that are unkind to yourself or to others. And so all of this is for, I want to say this, the astrology is always for you. It's always for you to have a greater connection with yourself, with others, with the world, with nature. And so I want you to be thinking about, and I'm emphasizing this because there's a squares. These are all squares, and squares are inherently um, dynamic and tense, and we usually feel like we need to do something. And so, and that's often because there's something that is arising from within you when there's a square. And so, what is it that's wanting to come forward from you this month? Is it a new awareness? Is it something that you want to bring in, that you want to own and accept about yourself? Is it something that you want to release? Maybe all of those things. So, what is it that is happening for you and with you this month? Okay, so a couple of other things that I want to say, and then we'll talk about the lunations that are happening this month. So, this month, Neptune is stationing direct on December 10th. And this is important because this marks the maximum retrogradation into Pisces. Now, Neptune, most of the outer planets are retrograde about half of the year. So that it's been retrograde is not incredibly important or pivotal, because that is something that it does very often. And it's important at this time because now we know Neptune is going to ever so slowly start to move forward in the zodiac. So Neptune stations at 29 degrees of Pisces on December 10th. So that's as far back as it's gonna go in this current retrograde process in our lifetime. So now it's going to very slowly go forward, and it's going to eventually go into Aries. And so we'll talk about that more when we get to that point, but I just want you to have that in mind, to know that now both Saturn and Neptune will be moving forward, and they'll be moving fully into Aries. They will not be going back into Pisces. So that's happening this month as well. Okay, also happening, Jupiter is making a square to Chiron. So we talked about this last month. This is themes of healing, exploring your healing journey, especially around themes of your belief system, your philosophy, expanding your mind, expanding your awareness, and connecting with different ideas, different cultures, and also this theme around teaching or learning or studying or receiving guidance from a person or people who are in a position to support you in a way that you need. These are all Jupiter square Chiron themes. So this is a long-term transit, and it's actually a part of a larger storyline involving Jupiter, Chiron, and Pluto in a T-square from August of 2025 to September of 2026. So the Pluto component is wide, it's a bit softer, it's there, but it's more in the background. What's important this month is that Jupiter is exactly square Chiron this month in December. So we're in it from August of 2025 into September of 2026, and it's very alive. I would say it's sort of at the peak this month with Jupiter exactly square Chiron. And so I wanna sink into this a little bit here as we're talking about this. Um, hmm. So Chiron is a comet slash asteroid that is connected to the myth of Chiron in Greek mythology. Chiron is a symbol of healing, of wounds, the wounds that heal, healing the wounds, and it's a symbol of giving loving, unconditional positive regard to the things that are difficult for either us or for others. A part of the myth of Chiron is he was this person, this centaur, half horse, half human person, whose greatest ability was being with other people exactly as they were. And uh, he was a mentor to many of the different Greek heroes and many of the Greek healers. And he always helped whoever was in front of him become more of who that person was becoming. So he helped the healer, the plant healer, become better at healing with plants. He helped the warrior become a better warrior, etc. And so a part of Chiron's symbolism is helping others connect with themselves. It's also about you connecting more with yourself and your own unique essence. It's about self acceptance as well as self tending. And Chiron is also highly relational as well. So, this is a bit of the paradox of Chiron symbolism is that um, it can sometimes be easier to see other people in their beauty and their capacity and their challenges. It can sometimes be easier to see other people than it can be to see ourselves. And this is why we do things like we talk to friends, we go to therapy, we see astrologers, because we need other people to see ourselves. We need other people to mirror us, to see us, to be with us. We need attunement. We are highly relational. And so Chiron reminds us of this. Chiron reminds us that in order to tend to the things that have been difficult in our lives, we need other people to help us move through that process. And that we're not meant to do the healing thing by ourselves. And sometimes a person can be incredibly healing for us without even realizing it, without it even being intentional. And so, Jupiter making this square to Chiron, there is something here around opening up the capacity for um, giving and receiving healing care. Whether that is you receiving that or you giving that, or maybe both, whether that is with a human person and physical reality or connecting with your higher self or your ancestors or your spiritual guidance team, whatever that is, there is a strong theme of opening up to receive and to give and to find a way to do that that feels right for you, that feels consensual, that feels sustainable, that feels um, reciprocal. Uh, One of Jupiter's qualities is to be open, to be open, to say yes, to say, I want more of this. This is amazing. It's very exciting. Now, a part of Jupiter's downside is it's like, yes, I want more. Let's keep going. And then there can be ill effects from that. There can be um, overwhelm. There can be exhaustion. There can be burnout. There can be any insert the thing here that happens for you when there's too much, when things are pushed to their max capacity. So that might, I don't know, but that might be a part of what's happening with this Jupiter square Chiron. There might be some healing here around uh, the well, let's see. What am I feeling into here? Hmm. Yeah, okay. So there might be some healing here around how to be fully in your yes and your enthusiasm and your excitement, but to find a way to do that that also helps you to take care of yourself. So another part of Chiron's myth is so. Maybe I should do a full episode on Chiron because I'm pausing because I don't want to go on a super long tangent here. So, Chiron was this mentor. He was a mentor, a physician, an astrologer, a mathematician. He did everything. And so whatever anyone needed, he was there to mentor them and to help them become their very best self. And at one point in the story, Chiron was injured. He was injured by a very particular kind of poison that had no antidote that we're aware of. And this poison was from this creature that guarded the underworld. And first, Chiron retreated to his cave and just was just there in deep pain. And at one point, he decided, okay, I need to get out of this cave and I need to find a cure for this pain, for this poison. And so he went on this journey and he traveled around and learned all of these different healing techniques and modalities. And in that process, he also practiced what he was learning on other people. And he healed a lot of people in that process. So he was trying to heal himself. In the process, he was learning a lot, a lot, a lot. And he was also healing other people. But he couldn't find a cure for his own condition. And so we take this symbolism whenever we're looking at Chiron. This tells us that wherever Chiron is placed in the chart or collectively, there's something here around being able to help other people very well, but not being able to help ourselves with our particular issue, which, as you could imagine, or maybe you've experienced, is can really test one's faith and can be frustrating, infuriating, exhausting, hopeless, etc. All of the things, while simultaneously being very gratifying, being able to um, help other people and being able to see that some of these things that you're learning and studying are working. So, um, also, then Chiron at one point realizes that he cannot heal himself and uh, sort of submits to he's going to be in pain. And he eventually decides with Hercules, one of his mentees, they decide that Chiron should go and sacrifice his own mortality on behalf of Prometheus, who was another Greek god that was being punished in the underworld for giving humans fire. And so basically, Chiron switched places with Prometheus, and the ending of the story is that Chiron then, because he made that sacrifice, was exalted in the stars and made the constellation of Sagittarius. So, why am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you this because a part of Chiron's story is that he sacrificed his life force for someone else who was suffering. And there there are so many different ways that we could take meaning from this, and I actually want to I'm researching this and going to explore this more in depth in another medium, in another way, in another day. And also, it's very striking that Chiron decides to surrender his life for someone else. And I think this is a part of um, the cautionary tale of Chiron, is that there can be a tendency when we have Chiron really plugged into the natal chart, or we're having a transit of Chiron, there can be a tendency to give and give and give, and then to overgive so much that it overextends your life force, that you're helps other people, but then it starts to have a detrimental impact in your own life. And so that's one potential, I think, of something that could come up. Um, if that is something that is happening in your life, it may become apparent this month if it's not already. And I think that Jupiter square Chiron asks us to find some healing around how we give and receive, how we say yes, how we receive support, and connecting into our worthiness to be in a position to both receive and to also give at the same time. Now, the the last piece I'll say about this is that the asteroid goddess Vesta is also making uh, an aspect with Jupiter and Chiron. So Vesta is creating a T-square with Jupiter and Chiron. And Vesta is the goddess of the flame, the hearth, the fire. Vesta was symbolized by the family hearth that was in the family home and the hearth at the center of the city. So it's this central flame that keeps us inspired and alive, and that has this organizing principle in the psyche. Um, Vesta was also a symbol of commitment and devotion to the things that keep us alive not biologically, but that keep us alive in spirit, and um, that keep us alive in our hearts. And so I really like this Jupiter Chiron for you here around reconnecting with your heart, reconnecting with what keeps you enthusiastic, what keeps you alive, what keeps you nourished. There's something here that is coming forward as far as a greater connection with that part of yourself. Okay, so I want to pull some tarot cards for you here. And I have some oh gosh, oh my gosh, we need to talk about the lunations. I'm so excited to get to the tarot. Okay, so we have, as usual, a full moon and a new moon happening this month. And for those of you that are able to visually see the screen, I'm going to share my screen here with you so that we can look together. Okay, so first is the full moon in Gemini on December 4th of 2025. It's exact at 3:14 p.m. Pacific time. And this full moon in Gemini is exact at 13 degrees of Gemini. Now, full moons are this time of culmination of emotional fullness. It can often feel like there's a lot going on. It can also sometimes feel like there's a lot on your mind. It can sometimes, sometimes the experience is more subtle, but it's sometimes this more just things are coming more into your awareness. Now, what's really important about this full moon is that, or actually, what's really important about both of these lunations that we're having this month is that they're making this square to Saturn and Neptune, which makes sense because the lunations involve the sun, and the sun is making this square to Saturn Neptune. So the lunations are emphasizing and putting an exclamation point on the square of Sun, Venus, and Mars to Saturn and Neptune. So when we have this full moon in Gemini on December 4th, December 4th or 5th, depending on where you are in the world, uh, there might be even more things that are coming forward for you here around what we've talked about with this uh, feeling of tension around encountering practicalities, encountering illusions, seeing what's real, seeing what's ideal or idealistic, all of these things. Now, a full moon in Gemini is especially about our thought process, our communication, and how we seek new information, how we seek new ideas, how we connect with others. This lunation is also connecting in with Venus and Mars, of course, because those planets are in Sagittarius. And so there's so much here around creating an opening and a greater capacity for um, seeing what feels alive in your relationships and in your boundaries, setting boundaries in relationships, I think especially could be a part of this lunation. And the moon is also rooting in to Mercury because the moon is in Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is here in Sagittarius. And we talked about how Mercury is making that opposition to Uranus. So this lunation to me feels very vibrant. It feels very alive. I think that there might be a lot of ideas and thoughts and emotions that you're processing. And I sort of get this image of like a mesh tray with a bunch of sand and water, and we're just sort of shaking the tray to let things filter through in their own timing. Is there more that I want to say about this? You know, I think also this may bring forward some of the things that you've been contemplating over the last month. Like we talked about with that Mercury retrograde being done, being completed, and we're still processing things. So during this full moon in Gemini, Mercury is at 22 degrees of Scorpio, and that's just barely, Mercury's just barely starting to move forward because it's stationed direct at 20 degrees of Scorpio. So um, I encourage you to remember that you don't have to have it all figured out right now, that whatever is coming up for you now in your own internal process, that is exactly where you need to be. It's exactly what needs to be happening for you now. And more may continue to be illuminated as the moon moves forward here. Um, And I don't know, maybe you have a lot of ideas and those things start to fall into place as the moon starts to go forward in the signs towards the new moon later in the month. Okay, so we have a new moon in Sagittarius. Let's see here. So that's December 19th. and it's exact at 5:43 p.m. Pacific time. So December 19th, December 20th, depending on where you are in the world. And so this lunation is also making a square to Saturn and Neptune much more closely, because this new moon is happening at 28 degrees of Sagittarius. And so another part, and so, okay, actually pause. So new moon is this time of conception, of merging, of things coming together, of a seed being planted. Now, when the seed is planted, we can't see anything. We don't know what's happening yet. All we know is that something has been initiated. And whatever it is that has been initiated is often unseen or unknown. We may have a little inkling of it, we may have an idea, but we oftentimes have no idea what may become of this thing, how it may grow and evolve. And there is this planting of a seed in Sagittarius. So collectively, this is the sign that involves exploration and adventuring and learning and finding new things and looking at the big picture and connecting with feeling states of hope and optimism and faith. Whereas there was this culmination with Gemini, with communication and transmitting ideas, things that are more immediate. That was the culmination. The planting of the seed here is more about looking at the wider perspective, looking at the bigger perspective. And this is a planting of a seed, an initiation that is directly correlated to Saturn and Neptune. So this is because it's making this square to Saturn at 25 degrees of Pisces and Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. So this is very close here. So there's a new seed that's being planted around your connection to Saturn, which is tradition, consensus reality, containment. Saturn is both limitation as well as safe holding spaces. So Saturn says, this is the boundary, this is where we only have so much. There's a finite capacity. And boundaries are very healthy. Boundaries help us feel safe, even when they might be simultaneously frustrating. Boundaries help us to feel secure. Containers help us to feel like we can put our feet on the ground and like we can root up and stand up from that place. Containers help us to feel strong. And so there's something here possibly around creating a new container, creating a sense of safety and security. There may also be something here around Neptune, planting a seed for a vision, for an imagination, um, for connection with the unseen, connection with the other world, connection with your ancestors, connection with beauty or art or flow states, any and all of those things and more. There's really no limitation when it comes to planetary archetypes. The possibilities are unlimited. Um, so I don't know exactly what may come to pass for you here. What I do know is that there is something new that's being initiated here. And you can look to where Sagittarius is in your birth chart, so what house that is, to get a little more information on what might be planted here for you. Now, another part of this new moon is that it's also making this trine to Chiron. And that to me feels supportive and hopeful. When we have a trine, it sort of is floating in the background. We don't always notice it because we don't have to. It's not asking anything of us. A square and an opposition usually show a time period where there's something being asked of us, where we are propelled into action or into figuring things out. Whereas the trine, we don't have to do anything with it, and also it's a great resource to have. So there is a resource here around healing, around giving care to yourself or to others, seeking support, seeking mentorship, whatever it is that you need. There's support here for that. Okay. Shall we do some tarot cards? How does that sound? So some some things that I would contemplate. So I'm pulling the cards here. So I'm actually, as I'm going through together with you through the astrology, what strikes me is that I'm really curious what last month was like for you, especially with the Mercury retrograde and what came up for you then. That to me feels important. It doesn't feel like the entire story, but it does make me wonder what you attribute to this particular Mercury retrograde time. And what were you thinking about? What were you reimagining? What was changing for you? What was happening in the world? uh, and yeah, I think I also want to say when we have a lot of squares, sometimes that can um, bring up fear or anticipation because it's a more pointy or prickly kind of energy. And also, squares bring us more into ourselves. That has been my experience. That squares, they have a refining effect on us. They often can bring things into focus in a way where maybe um, maybe you've had an experience like this where you're in life, you're living your life, you're doing things, and there's something that's kind of like not great, but it's fine, and then suddenly it becomes not fine. Uh, these are important times um, because they can be very clarifying, and they often, when we have to address things that maybe feel a little sharp or dynamic or where there's some tension, that actually brings us into ourselves. It can bring us into greater alignment, greater resonance, and I think it can be really helpful to have a sense for what it is that's happening here. What is the dynamic that's happening? And so, yeah, I'm curious, what patterns have you noticed this month? Is there, yeah, what's the call here for you? Is there a call to shift some thought patterns? Is there a call to shift some behavior? Is there a call to step forward? Is there a call to be bold? Is there a call to surrender? It might be multiple things. It might be contradictory things, and that's okay. And, we'll figure out what's going on there. Okay, so if you're not already, I invite you to get into a place that feels comfortable for you. Let yourself settle. You may wish to be still, to close your eyes. You may wish to find some movement that feels soothing to you. You may wish to focus on something that feels soothing or grounding or relaxing. Wherever you are, know that you are here and you are protected and everything is okay. Hmm. And as you're here, you may wish to imagine that there are tree roots growing from your seat or your legs down into the ground, all the way down to the very center of the earth. And these tree roots connect you with the center of the earth, where there's this beautiful golden light that radiates up through the tree roots, through your whole body, encircling you in this beautiful golden light from the earth. As you're here, you may wish to invite in the presence of your spiritual guidance team, ancestors, whoever or whatever are that benevolent guiding force for you, your helpers and healers in spirit. Ask that they are here with you now to help you, to protect you, and to communicate with you in a way that you can easily understand right now. We are so very grateful for their presence here. Mm. You may wish to pick a number between 1 and 3, and that card will be special for you. Okie dokie. Okay, interesting cards here. So, first card is the Two of Swords. Two of Swords tends to be about decision making. It tends to be about balancing paradox. It can also be about holding space for both your intellectual, analytical way of thinking as well as your intuitive, spatial way of thinking. So, this is the first card, and this tells me that there is there's a holding space for both, holding space for the paradox of two things that maybe don't seem like they can exist together. And when we have a situation like this, um, it often feels like we need to decide, we need to choose one, and when but neither one really feels like it. And so this is a part of the tension. And when we feel that way, often it can be very helpful to hold on to that tension, to not, if it doesn't feel like one way is really it, to wait until the way that is it naturally arises, because oftentimes this holding space for the paradox allows for a transformational process where a new idea or a new concept or a new way of being comes forward. But that often only happens when we hold space for the paradox and we are really in it, so to speak. So that may be what's happening for you here. It may be more practical or more literal, where there's this holding space for both parts of you, both sides of you, the analytical thinking as well as the intuitive thinking. And this does make me wonder if maybe there's one way that you tend towards, and maybe this is a call to bring more of that other way in, possibly to find a sense of balance and harmony. And I don't know, maybe there's a decision that you're trying to make. Maybe that's a big part of what's happening this month. Let's look at the other cards and see what's going on. So second card is the Two of Pentacles. So another two. Interesting. And Two of Pentacles is more okay, so where the Two of Swords is more about decisioning kind of things and like holding space for two different ways of being. The Two of Pentacles is more about juggling multiple things. It's more about um, switching from one thing to the other. And I don't know, is there a lot that's on your mind? It's making me wonder that. I did pull this card reverse too. And so it's making me wonder if there's a question around how to hold space for multiplicity, how to hold space for multiple projects, multiple ideas, multiple relationships, multiple ways of being. I'm really feeling into the Jupiter Chiron here, this like how to do all of the things that you want to do. That feels very Two of Pentacles for me. And so I didn't describe the imagery to you. So the Two of Swords, it's this person that looks like they're sort of skipping over two swords, and they're wearing a blue dress and a witch's hat, and they have long hair that's sort of like in braids, but also loose at the same time. And they look very free to me. They look like they're like skipping on down. And then the Two of Pentacles, there's something about it that reminds me of the Disney movie Ariel, that especially the scene where she's like collecting all the things and she's in her cave and showing you like all of the human trinkets that she's collected. So the imagery in this card, there's a person who is sitting on a clamshell type seat, and they have like a little um, seashell type bra over a dress. And there's all of these little bits and bobbles and bubbles above them that are all these little trinkety looking kind of things. And so the Two of Pentacles, it might be a question around what you're collecting, what you're including in your life, and that it's reversed. That it's reversed could mean there's a questioning around like, do you want all these things? Are all of these things equally important? Does there need to be some mm, processing or like decluttering? Uh, it could also be feeling a desire to have more, feeling a desire to have a richer life, whether that is material or more psychological. I'm not sure. It could be maybe both. All things are interconnected. So there's something there around managing multiplicity with the Two of Pentacles. And then the last card is the Ace of Cups. So I think this is really interesting that we have two twos and then an ace. This feels very like beginning, initiating kind of energy to me. Like things are just sort of coming into form. So the Ace of Cups is about new emotions, new relationships, things that are just starting to bud and come into form, and maybe not even form yet, but there's just sort of the essence of the new thing. And when it's a cup, it is relational, it is emotional. Cups are also related to our intuition and our psychic capacity, um, our other senses um, that are not so concrete. And the imagery in this card is a person that's sitting at a desk, and they look like they have some cards and a couple of other things in front of them in one cup. And they're just sort of looking forward there. I did pull this card reversed as well. And so when I see an Ace of Cups reversed, especially as the last card, that tells me that we don't know what the energy is yet, because um, it's so potential right now. Like it's not even fully formed yet. It's so like it's just a thought or an idea, or it's very subtle in its energy form, whatever it is. Um, there's something new, certainly, that is arising, but we don't quite know what it is yet, because we need to go through the month, we need to go through lives, we need to have experience before we get here to see actually what is happening. So I'm very curious about what this is for you, but yeah, there's something here around holding space for multiplicity in many ways. Like there's even multiplicity of the multiplicity themes. So there's something here around holding space for paradox, holding space for multiplicity. I think there could certainly be a desire for a richer, fuller experience, and that may mean a variety of different things to you. And what I want to say to you is I think that I think just that this is coming up is that, yeah, like there's something here for you, and there's something new that's coming forward, but there's also this sort of hmm, sorting process, or maybe it's an allowing process. I'm not quite sure. There's some inner work or inner exploration to be done um, for whatever is coming forward for you. And maybe the Ace of Cups is more connected to that new moon in Sagittarius happening later in the month. Um, but yeah, I'm really excited for you, because if I just feel like the I feel the hmm, I just keep getting this image of a little flower that's like that's about to open. I feel the energy there in that moment before the bloom opens, and I'm really excited for you. Okay, so that is your astrology for this month, for December. Such an honor to be here with you as always. Um, I always love to hear from you. Thank you for all of the emails and the comments, and just for your presence here. And I am sending you so much love and wishing you a safe and easeful and deeply meaningful month. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.